Basketball fans, the Toronto Raptors got their first taste of the Western Conference, and boy, did they enjoy it. A 43-point romp of the San Antonio Spurs as the Toronto Raptors get to 5-3 in this early season. Welcome to Raptors today. Akil, Sherm Hamilton, Paul Jones. Jonsey, we'll start with you. We talked so much about many of these players on this team, but we got to talk about Gary Trent Jr. Contract year, looking for some Tyler Hero type money, but this guy has definitely found a reputation as a scorer with this team. Maybe not his best three-point shooting night, but he's finally shooting above 50% from inside the arc. Talk to us about what we're seeing from young Gary Trent Jr.
Well, you know, it's funny, Akil, because a lot of people had questions about the Raptors and their scoring in general. And you look at the last two games, a $139 and a $143. Cash registers ringing pretty good. And Gary Trent Jr., a big part of that in the game against San Antonio, led the team in scoring. And I'm just getting this feeling, this vibe from Gary Trent Jr. that he's always in control. You don't speed him up. He does not rush. He does things on his own terms. I mean, he made some terrific shots last night or in the game against San Antonio when you think about it. I mean, he had a 1-foot runner off the top of the glass. He's always in position in terms of catch and shoot. I know the Sherm has remarked this, and we've both talked about this on numerous occasions. He's balanced. He takes good shots. So here's a guy that he's kind of flying under the radar a bit. There's a lot of talk about Pascal Siakam. Fred is one of the leaders. But Gary's one of those guys that's going to be important to this team, particularly when people look at their scoring. And then we've already talked about and we've seen how underrated his defense is. People look at him and you think of an offensive guy, but he's great in the passing lanes, pressure on the ball, deflections. So I just like what he brings to the team and what he's bringing. And he's got the ability to do it while staying in character and in the role that has been set out for him.
All right, now one of the talking points that have been beaten up all across the NBA has been Pascal Siakam's mention of wanting to be top 5. When you get into that top 5 category, you got to be a playmaker. You got to make it easier for other people. Pascal got his second triple-double. He's averaging career high in assists. What are your impressions of how he's grown and blossomed while putting that pressure on himself?
Well, just to stay on the assist line, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's understanding how to get people involved based on his own aggression. He forces teams to send that second body at him, and if they don't, he's going to go by and score. And when they do, he's got that vision. He's got the understanding of where the other 9 players are on the floor so he can make plays for his teammates. You think about the game against San Antonio, he had 5 of his 11 assists in the first quarter. That means that he got after it early, put a lot of pressure on San Antonio, and he made plays for his teammates to get them going. Another form of leadership is you can score. You know you can get the ball to the bucket. You know you can make plays. But when you can elevate the guys around you and give them opportunities, now you're taking another step, and Pascal is doing that. He said he wants to be a top 5. Right now he's playing like a top 5. Where he is right now, I think it's early to say, but there's no question about it. Pascal has put the league on notice, and he's backing it up with his play. And we just want to see this happen after 10 games, after 15 games, after 20 games, just to see that consistency. But his energy and his level of effort is off the charts. And it all starts there. No matter how skilled you are, if you put that extra effort into it, you become that much better. And Pascal's leadership from an energy and an effort standpoint, it's off the chart.
All a coach can ask for is energy and effort, especially when he's already handled the X's and O's of the game plan. So let's check in with the coach for the Toronto Raptors, their bench boss, Nick Nurse.
What did you make of that one, Coach? Well, they've been playing well, and our guys, took the scouting report and the preparation very seriously, which is what they needed to do, and they went out there and executed. Really played hard defensively, I thought. Made it tough, created a lot of turnovers, and turned a lot of those into easy baskets.
What's been the point of emphasis on that front? You guys did against Atlanta as well.
Yeah, just again, it all starts, with effort for us, but more specifically with ball pressure and using some of the length. Like once they pick it up to pass, we're really trying to, deflect the passes and get our hands on some things, and we have been. So it's really a lot of it's just effort and increased ball pressure. Yeah.
The complexion of the game seemed to change kind of near the end of the first half. In the third quarter, you guys scored, I think, 40 points. What did you notice about the energy that Gary was able to provide? last year in that stretch?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think every guy that got out there provided a bunch, but Gary was in one of those that he felt like he could score it every time he had it, right? So that's lift, gives the team a lift when you got a guy so confident and just kind of roaming around and making buckets, and they found him, and the guys were talking about Gary's made 3 in a row, let's go back to him, and things like that you're hearing the guys say. So it's good. I mean, he can score the ball, and he certainly did tonight.
Back at it from Scotiabank Arena, and the media and the fans were dying to see one of the big offseason acquisitions for this Toronto Raptors team, which was Otto Porter. He was unable to go for the first 5 games. The last 2 were personal reasons. We finally found out why. A new father. So our producer Jake threw something at me. I'm going to throw it at you, Sherm. Do you think he gets the same baby bump, quote unquote, that Fred VanVleet got, because he got super focused and locked in after he became a father?
Maybe we should get Jake to come and ask the question on air, but I think when you talk about Otto Porter, I mean, he's coming off of a championship with Golden State, and you expect him to bring that leadership, bring that experience there, and bring it to that second unit and be a vital piece of that. Do I expect him to get the baby bump that Fred got in a word? No. Fred was on another level. If we could all respond the way Fred did after having a child, we'd have many. But I think Otto Porter Jr. understands that his role is different. He's going to be a piece of the puzzle in that second unit. I think he's a very good rebounding guard for his position, but also he can stretch the floor and shoot the 3. So the more he gets acclimated, the more he gets an understanding of how these other guys and where they want the ball, and the more he gets some sleep based on not having a newborn, he's going to continue to get better for this unit. But I just think that he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge that not only on the court can they take it from, but they can take it off the court as well.
All right, now one of the best things about a big win, of course, is the chance to give the other guys some run. And with this Toronto Raptors team, the bench has been a concern. You got a lot of guys get some extended minutes they wouldn't have gotten in a tight game, but I want to know who stood out for you off the bench, Jonsey.
The bench racked up some points again last night in San Antonio, didn't they? And look, I thought Delano Banton was good with his 13 points. I thought Precious Achiuwa was good. He had 12, but the guy I continue to point to off the bench is Chris Boucher. Let's flash back to a year ago at this time. They were coming back from Tampa. I wouldn't say it was a totally lost season, but guys' roles had morphed a little bit, and Chris had turned into a scoring 3-point shooter just because of the way the season was going. He came back to Toronto last year and tried to make that his main dish, and it wasn't. And he found that out. Listen, this is not how I should be cooking. Let me go back to the stuff that I know how to cook. The energy, the effort, getting into the game, and offensive rebounding, keeping possessions alive. He settled into that later in the year. He's out at the beginning of this year. He's not coming back cooking the wrong thing. He has been back with the energy, the effort. Again, you look at the game against San Antonio, 7 of 10 from the floor, 17 points, 8 rebounds, in the passing lanes, creating steals, running the floor, like all of these things, those epitomize Chris Boucher, and he's doing them. And oh, by the way, the bonus side dish, the scoring, that's coming along with it. So I just love where Chris is at right now. I love what he's doing for the bench, and let's hope he can keep it going.
All right, well, enough from us. Let's hear from the players.
So I know you talked about preparation not necessarily changing when it comes to your assignments, but do you feel as though speed has, I think that's something that you mentioned, be seeing on the last couple of games, you feel like you're kind of getting quicker to things?
Yeah, I think so. Just from watching more film and then just reacting faster, I think.
What makes things very helpful for you defensively when it comes to support that you're getting from, say, a Pascal or Chris off the bench?
Oh, just, I don't know. I think it starts with, like, I see Scotty picking up the ball full court, and then I'll rotate, pick the ball up full court. We're all, like, picking each other up. So just, I think the energy's contagious. And Pascal's running around, Chris is running around, Precious is running, like, we're all running around, everyone. So I think it's contagious for sure.
What does it say about your identity as a group that you guys just handed San Antonio their worst loss in home history?
Oh, I think we just play really hard. No matter what, we try to go out there and just play hard. So.
Defensively, where do you feel like you guys are as a team in comparison to last year? Not necessarily this time last year, but like, do you feel like you pick up where you left off? Do you feel like you're already 70% there from where you were before?
Yeah, I think so. I think guys are. We have a lot of guys back, so guys know what's going on more so than this time last year. So we kind of picked up where we left off last year, in a sense. And then having Christian back there behind us helps a lot.
What have you noticed from him over the last couple of games and the ways that he's been able to contribute?
He's very receptive to, not only say constructive criticism, but he takes feedback very well. He's attentive. He listens. He works hard. And then even having Cam healthier, that helps a lot. And then we just try to fire on defense. So.
I know you guys talk a lot during the games, but for someone that young to be able to take that in-game feedback, have you seen anything like that before? Kind of react as soon as you guys kind of tell him like what he's doing?
I know. I feel like we've always had young guys like that. So, but Christian is definitely one of them. I think he's really good.
Basketball fans, just days away from the start of the G League season. The showcase is up first, and of course, the Toronto Raptors want to showcase their players, so they're out in Scarborough with an open practice, and they trotted out the front office to offer us some comments on what they expect from the team this season. What was the reasoning behind the choice to bring it out to the ends, aka Scarborough?
The ends, Scarborough. Well, it's an opportunity for our team just to have a different environment. We've got a new staff. We've got some players that have not been able to see the city based on last year's situation with the pandemic and so forth. So for us, it's to be in a city that's growing and lively and had some great young people grow up in it like myself. And it's an opportunity for us to give the fans a bit here on the east side of what we're doing, that they can come down to Mississauga and see us play during our season.
It's been in the organization, come back, and how important is it to have him in this role helping out the coaching staff?
Well, I love the words you use, because he was maybe sent to Fort Wayne to get insight. But no, he's back with us because of who he is as a coach and what Eric saw in him as someone he wanted to be on his staff, to support him and to help him be a lead, and what knowledge that Charles has been able to show over these last few years, making the transition from being a head coach to being an assistant coach, going to different teams. So Charles is a wealth of information, and we're so proud and glad to have him. And it's even better to know that Eric has someone who we trust and really believes in.
Basketball mind and great mind overall with all the things that you've accomplished, but it's probably a bit different being a head coach your first time.
Yeah, it's different for sure. As an assistant, you have your area that you really focus on. Now as a head coach, you got to focus on everything. So that part of it's been a fun challenge, and trying to put in a big vision and execute all parts of it, and then having great assistants to get out there on the court and get the players through the drills has been a really good challenge so far. We know at the end of the day, 9 to 5 is all about development, both here and for the parent club, and the importance of that. So we're making sure that the philosophies are the same with both teams, so that way when a player's on assignment, they're playing Raptors basketball, and it will help them when they get back with the parent club to really execute what the Raptors want. So having been able to see it from both sides and see what works well, that's definitely what I'm trying to implement.
Is it the exact same mandate that you have when building out the roster for this 905 club, or is it a little different?
Well, no mandate, but we look for guys that we hope that down the road could fill a role for the Raptors. Guys that we look that can fit into our system well. So there's no mandate there by any means, but we do look for a lot of the same characteristics in players. Well, I think in the G League, it's a difficult, it's a grind. So you want guys that are ambitious, the guys that are going to work hard. They're going to persevere through the ups and the downs of a G League season. And it's not as glorious and glamorous, but you're out there to win games, you're out there to play hard, you're out there to achieve your dream. So it's guys that are going to stick together through this, this road and come out on top.
What's the challenge that you issued with, specifically with this group this year?
Oh, man, it's going to be fun. This is my 4th coach now, in 6 years in the 905, and so we've had coaches that range from all over. And I think we're excited to work together with Eric. We've known each other for quite some time, so it's a little bit different relationship now coming together on this end. But we're excited and look to take the things that he's learned from Nick and the things that he's learned from the Raptor side over the past 6 years that he's also been here and put it on the court.
Okay, basketball fans, I hope you guys get a chance to get out to Mississauga to catch the other product that is the Raptors 905. They were a game away from the finals last year in the G League, and so they've been putting a great product on the floor. Speaking of putting a great product on the floor, the Raptors organization has done a great job repeatedly with the coaches that have come out of this group. You think about Patrick Mutombo moving on, Jama Malalela and what he's doing with the Warriors, and even Jerry Stackhouse is at Vanderbilt. So talk to me about the coaching situation. Eric Khoury, a local kid from the University of Toronto, now holding that mantle, and how they internally develop the future for this Raptors franchise.
Yeah, you know, Eric's an interesting guy, a very smart guy. You know, he comes from the numbers side of the organization and, you know, has gradually moved over to the basketball side, has been on the head coaching side for the Raptors in terms of Nick Nurse's staff. But going down to the 905, and as players go down there and develop, it's the same way coaches can go down there and develop. And Eric Khoury, we're going to find out what kind of coach he is when he's running a team, but there's no doubt about it, being involved, being in the middle of the fire, making decisions, calling plays, timeouts, operating with players, understanding how to manipulate and use their time the most effectively, and also streamlining it with the big team. I mean, he's got to run a lot of the things that Nick Nurse is running, especially when players get sent down, so there's this level of consistency. So we're going to learn a lot about Eric Khoury. What we know is he loves the game of basketball. He is a basketball nut, and he's going to work very hard at his job. And that's, to me, the position where, as coaches continue to grow, you get so many things thrown at you. Players are in and out of your lineup. Guys are there one day, they're gone. Injuries, being able to substitute the right way. You're evaluated by the organization just like players are being evaluated. So it's a great opportunity. I feel he's going to do a great job with it. And as you said, the 905 is a very good product. I mean, there's great basketball down there. It's winning basketball. So we're going to see how Eric Khoury manages all of that.
All right, now, the 905 have won a championship, but they've also won a great reputation for this organization. So how do we define victory or winning when you are a 905 club? Because, you know, you lose players a lot, and it's not necessarily defined by the wins at the end of the season. But if you look at the Raptors roster, it's about some of the guys that are on your big club's team.
It's interesting, Akil, because the 905 is the ultimate level of something that is the most difficult to do in sports, and that is win and develop at the same time. And I had a chance to speak to Eric as the head coach before we came to air, and he said it's about both of those, winning and developing. Success is winning, but in the 905 and in the G League in general, if you don't do the development, you're not going to win. And it starts where you are now. I've got my eye on guys like Jeff Doughton Jr., Ron Harper Jr., Christian Koloko, who'll probably be up and down on the shuttle. And the idea is, yes, you want to win. As you talked about, one game from the championship. They've won championships in the previous years. But the development goes into that. You produce a G League MVP like Chris Boucher. You produce players like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, guys that are gone, DeLon Wright, Norman Powell. The goal is to win and develop. That's very difficult to do, but the winning comes when you put the time into the development. There's something very interesting when I spoke to Eric. So we'll be watching that. Raptors 905 have a terrific reputation around the G League, so I'll be keeping a very close eye on what's going on down there, because a lot of those guys in 2, 3, 4 years are going to end up with the big club.
All right, someone else who's been big into develop this offseason, Luka Doncic finally took the offseason serious. Now he's coming out as one of 3 players to ever average above 30 points per game through the first 7 games of the season. As we get set for the Raptors versus the Dallas Mavericks, and when you get set for the Dallas Mavericks, you got to get set for the MVP, the front runner at least as of right now, and that's Luka Doncic. How have teams been approaching Luka so far this season as he's been dominating across the board, trying to throw double teams at him, trying to slow the kid down? He's got great recognition, so we're going to take a look at exactly what's been happening with Luka on the court. Sherm, I'll start with you. Let's take a look at a couple plays here.
Well, Luka is so good with the basketball. Teams try to pick him up early, but what Luka does is he does a great job using the screen and roll. You see how he occupies 3 defenders there, cuts to the basket. It's an easy over the top because they've got shooters on the far side. Difficult to defend as Luka keeps the weak side defense on point because of his passing ability.
All right, Jonsey, show us some other ways where Luka can break down the defense.
All right, here's the beauty of Luka. Takes the outlet, and he's such a terrific ball handler. He has everything in the bag. Dorian Finney-Smith with a little rub screen, a little brush screen, rolls to the basket. Now, on the switch, Bol is supposed to be closer, and even with his length, he's not able to get out and deter a 3-point shot from Luka. Luka can also put the ball on the floor. Here's the switch. Again, Bol This time he's a little bit tighter, but Luka notices he's got shooters. Bullock, Dinwiddie, you rarely help off the strong side, and then he goes to work. Does a nice job crossing over, change of speed, change of direction, and then he's a big guy when he gets inside, able to finish easily at the rim.
So basically, Sherm, there's really no perfect way to defend Luka when he does stuff like this.
No, you're right, Akil. I mean, Luka does things that are otherworldly sometimes. Here you see him breaking down a good defender, Ben Simmons with size. The whole Brooklyn Nets defense is engaged. He no-looks it behind the head over the top to Kleba, cutting under the basket. Now, I don't know of any coach that can draw up a defense for that, but Luka doing magic on the floor sometimes with his passing ability.
Okay, with all that being said, gentlemen, the Toronto Raptors have their hands full, and there's a task to be done that's stopping Luka Doncic. How does this staff get their players ready to take something away from the guy?
Well, I think the Raptors are pretty well equipped in one sense, is that they can switch, and they've got length and lateral quickness ability. That doesn't matter, though. Luka's just a tough cover offensively. Sometimes good offense just beats good defense. My thing is, do not let that guy rest at the other end. Hold his feet to the fire defensively. Put the pressure on him. Seek out who he's covering. Break that guy down. Force the defense to rotate. So I just don't think you can let him rest at the defensive end. I think it's underplayed how much you can slow a guy down offensively by going at him defensively, maybe even putting him in some foul trouble if he's willing to play the defense.
That's a solid game plan. Luka worked on his fitness, so maybe that he can actually go against guys who want to push him. Sherm, your thoughts?
Test that fitness.
Yeah.
Get into him and make sure he has to work. Full court pressure, make sure you're turning him, and make him expend some energy in that area. And in the half court, the Raptors, as Jonsey said, they come with those big, long double teams. You've got to be active. You've got to be very handsy in those situations, create bad passing lanes, because Luka is so good. He'll fit it in those spots if you're not there. And I think you've just got to meet him every single time. Guys that are as good as Luka, they're going to get things done. You're not going to take everything away, but you just got to stay in the fight, stay consistent, be aggressive, be physical with him, attack him on the other end, and make him expend energy. And the other thing is, get the ball out of his hands and see if the rest of those guys, without Jalen Brunson there, if the rest of those guys can pick up the slack and make plays. That's one of the options, but Luka's going to do stuff that's going to make us say, oh my goodness, did we just see what we saw?
Well, oh my goodness, you better be tuned in for a Friday night matchup. 8:30 is the tip-off time. You can catch that on TSN for the video, and for the audio, that's the radio call. You can catch that on Sportsnet. That's it for us here. Do remember, Raptors versus the Mavericks, 8:30 Friday night. I'm Akil Augustine. Shouts out to our producer, Jake, and of course, my cohorts, Sherm and Jonsey. See you next time, guys.